Inspired by the counterculture movement sweeping the country, DAS-FM switched to a progressive, experimental rock format under the direction of popular white DJ and program director High Lit. He called the new format High Skis Underground because it's now WDAS-FM 105.3 Philadelphia. This was a new style of radio that featured long album cuts from bands like the Grateful Dead, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and The Doors. One of the most popular programs on the upgraded FM station was hosted by WDS owner Max Leon's son, Steve Leon. This show was called My Father's Son. Although his show was popular, station manager and brother-in-law Bob Klein wasn't always a fan. In 1971, the FCC sent radio stations a telegram threatening to revoke their licenses if they played rock music that glorified the use of drugs. There was a list of 22 songs not to be played. Former DAS-FM program director Harvey Holiday remembers what happened next.
I don't know whether it's that night or the next night, but my father's son takes that list and starts playing every one of them. So I tune in to should be my father's son show, playing Grateful Dead and whatever else they're playing. And I hear Bo Diddley and Tina Turner, and I say, something's up.
Holiday rushed to the station and learned that Bob Klein had fired his brother-in-law and was making his debut as a disc jockey, playing his favorite artists on repeat.
You can't judge a book by looking at the cover.
And that's when Bob Klein asked Holiday to take the FM station black. The new station's slogan was Music for the People, and WDAS-FM evolved into a progressive soul format that featured long album cuts from artists like Curtis Mayfield and Stevie Wonder. Now, you couldn't play this music on AM.
So in the 50s, 60s, a guy would have a hit record, and they'd want to put an album out. So they would go in and cut 9 pieces of garbage, and they'd put it on the album.
Again, former DAS program director Harvey Holiday.
Now, there are no throwaways anymore. So now you need a radio station that's going to play these album cuts, because it's no longer just the great single.
To fully appreciate these long album cuts, you had to play them all the way through. Former DAS-FM disc jockey Dr. Perry Johnson.
We could play music that was 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 15 minutes long, and AM was just able to play music that was 3 to 4 minutes long, at best.
And unlike AM, FM had a clear stereo sound. You could hear the songs the way they were meant to be heard. For example, the music of Philadelphia International Records was full of lush strings and horns and fit on the FM dial beautifully.
I can remember planning.
The strength of the signal and the longer music coming out. beginnings and grew into a hugely successful station, much bigger than the 250-watt AM station that Bob Klein and Max Leon started in the 1950s. When we return,
it was the closest I had ever come to being in a war zone. I mean, it's nothing like smelling the scent of gunpowder in the air.
this is Going Black, the legacy of Philly Soul Radio. I'm Kenny Gamble.
Supporting WHYY PICO. Businesses of all sizes can qualify for PICO's energy efficient program. PICO is offering a program that may help lower energy in lighting, heating and cooling systems, renovation projects, and more. PICO programs can help with maintenance and overhead with higher efficiency equipment. Learn how you can take control of your energy use to help maintain your business. Learn more about how PICO can help your business at pico.com. Again, that's pico.com.
On the next Fresh Air, we pay tribute to saxophonist Sonny Rollins on the occasion of his 90th birthday. We feature our interview with him, and jazz critic Kevin Whitehead highlights Rollins' career. And we hear from actress Octavia Spencer, who's been nominated for an Emmy for her performance in the Netflix series Self-Made, about the first African-American female self-made millionaire. Join us.
This afternoon at 3 and again tonight at 7 on WHYY.
You're listening to Going Black, the legacy of Philly Soul Radio. I'm Kenny Gamble.
The President has few responsibilities of greater importance or greater consequence to the country's future than the constitutional responsibility of nominating justices for the Supreme Court of the United States.
That was Lyndon Baines Johnson, the former president of the United States, speaking about the Supreme Court.
Like other black radio stations, WDAS was popular for playing music you couldn't hear anywhere else. But what made black radio the lifeline to African-American communities around the country was the news and information these stations provided. For example, WDAS in Philadelphia had reporters on the ground at national civil rights events like the 1957 Little Rock Nine and the 1963 March on Washington.
Use the fast and actual, to the point and factual. It's WDAS for you.
The station's small, scrappy news department would go on to win awards and launch the careers of acclaimed reporters like Ed Bradley of 60 Minutes fame. And as the station's audience increased with the rise of FM, so did the amount of news it provided. But sometimes, news was seen by the disc jockeys as a lower priority.
Sometimes they maybe look at us as an intrusion. Get maybe one more record in.
Former WDAS news director Bob Perkins.
Sometimes I felt like I was in a mint, and it was a quarter mint, and I was making nickels in the quarter factory. And we're not the corner of the realm, you know what I mean? But I think they realized that it was a community service, and it had to be done.
Former DAS reporter Karen Warrington also remembers seeing a clear divide between music and news. She joined the station in the 70s as part of the wave of fresh talent from Temple University's WRTI station.
And the jocks were the big men on campus. And they were cool and fly, and they had the cars and the girls, and they did the record hops. And then you had the newsroom, which was, I think, a little group of subversives with some natural hair. And we were coming out of college, and most of us were really gung-ho on making some kind of political statement and change.
WDAS aired newscasts every hour on both AM and FM, featuring both breaking news and stories the station deemed important to the African-American community.
And looking at the news for this hour, One of the more progressive things having to do with black political progress in Philadelphia during the year just
Here's former DAS reporter Wynn Alexander.
Because we were so committed to real minority news, to real coverage of the issues that were going to be the future top stories, we did not have the luxury of other newsrooms that could rip and read. We did not have the luxury of having United Press International and AP wire copy form the basis of our newscasts. We had to go to our phone books and our leadership banks and get first-hand interviews and write first-hand accounts of these stories.
Compared to major news media in the city, WDAS was a bit of an underdog in certain respects. Again, former news director Karen Warrington.
Because we didn't have the money. I didn't even have a news car. When I started, I didn't even have a flag with the DAS logo on it. I had it made and I paid for it and put it on my microphone.